Hello, dear parent of the Scorpio child. How are you? I hope you are all doing well. And this reading is for the month of June. And dear parent, if you have been feeling the weight of this astrological energy, you are not alone. It's crazy. It's a bit much. We have Saturn gone retrograde. We have the eclipses here happening. We have Mercury in retrograde. There's just so much going on. So you're going to notice that not only in your own life, but in the life of others around you, there's a lot of shifts happening. People are moving, people are separating. There's a lot going on right now. So just a reminder to be gentle with yourself and gentle with others during this time. And just making sure to do things with compassion, right? So important right now. But okay, let's move on here. So let's see what's going on with Scorpio, your little Scorpio child here in the month of June. We have the Five of Wands and Eight of Coins. Okay, so a couple of things. A couple of ways this can play out here for little Scorpio. So on one hand, there's an energy of feeling the need to be competitive with others, potentially because there's something your little one is working really hard at. And then there's almost a sense of, well, I can do it better kind of energy because it is a little bit competitive. So this can play out with other siblings. It can play out with playmates, classmates, neighbors. It could also be getting competitive with their schoolwork, right? So here in June, here in the States, we have, schools that are going into graduation, and we are matriculating and going into other schools and whatnot. And so depending on where you are and what part of the world you are, this is going to play out differently, right? But this could be an energy of, I have to finish the, final, if you will. And it has to be better than the other kiddos and how they're doing it. This can also play out in terms of their playtime. You may notice that Scorpio is getting a little bit competitive with others. There's a sense of that. But at the end of it, it goes back to the work that they are proud of. So there's something here that they are working hard on. It can be a new competitive sport they've gotten into, an assignment, a project, whatever it is. It's something that has them focused and working hard, that is activating this other side that can potentially be competitive, maybe a little bit of conflict with workmates or classmates. And it could be because they so know what they want that there's an element of negotiation, right? Because conflict doesn't have to be negative. It can just be within conflict, there's this need to negotiate and say, okay, let's talk about the terms here. And this can also play out in a game. It doesn't have to be somber and dry or really serious. It could just be the way they're playing. They may be playing in a very highly activated and competitive and conflictual way that makes them, that's associated and related to something that means a lot to them that they're working hard on, which is very interesting. It's very mature energy. But this can play out at any age range. It could be with little itty bitty ones. It could be with teenagers and everything in between. So please apply it to how it best resonates for you, dear parent. But let's see here what the potential challenge may be, or conflict. Yeah. So we have the Page of Swords rooted by the Devil. That's a little funny. So the so the conflict here can be kind of winning at all cost type of feeling here, or energy. So Page of Swords is like, the elementary ways of giving a message, or maybe the not so elevate. Sometimes it can play out the way it's rooted here with the Devil. It can play out in a way that is about communication that's not very evolved, that can potentially be mean or cutting to other kiddos. And it's sort of the energy of, because I want to win at all costs, getting their point in a way that's not so nice, because the Devil brings up our obsessions, right? It brings up the things that we're obsessed on, or the things that we get, our addictions and whatnot. But in a child reading here and in this context, this is right next to the Eight of Coins. So there could be this obsession with getting something perfect and getting something right. So therefore, but at the same time, while they want to win at all costs, this can mean cutting corners that can later come back and bite them, right? Because at the end of the day, there's a feeling of perfectionism here, but if they're cutting corners, there's going to be a circumstance, a consequence to that, right? So this is the challenge that little Scorpio's facing, is whether or not to do the right thing, right? And it has to do with how they're communicating and what they're saying, and also potentially cutting corners by communicating something that potentially may not always be to the best of interest of others, because there's the devil. The devil's playing into the shadow, right? So the devil can potentially be feeding into your little Scorpio's shadow side of not doing the right thing necessarily. It's more about winning at all costs. So I'm interested in knowing what your little one's going through here in June, if you don't mind sharing to your parents, because this is almost like comical. Like I feel like I know for some of you, this is not going to be comical, but it does sort of have that feeling to it, because it's like little Scorpio just wants to finish the finish line here and win. And so there's this feeling here of, I'm going to do it the way I need to do it at all costs. Okay, but let's see what you can do, parent, to minimize this or alleviate this. Yeah, so there's frustration here. We have the Seven of Swords, and the Seven of Swords is about getting away with something. The Seven of Swords is about potentially lying, cutting corners, getting away with something. And so for you, the Two of Pentacles, it's about balancing that as a parent, right? Like kind of seeing the genius behind it, like being aware as a parent, like appreciating the genius behind it, because let's be honest, there is genius in figuring out the loopholes to a situation, right? Or how to cut the corners. There's intellect in that. I'm not saying that it's the right thing, that it's always the right thing, but it's almost like you have to balance okay, how much of this do I discipline? This is you, dear parent, balancing the discipline. And how can you still discipline, but also acknowledging the intellect that came through the creation of whatever this loophole is? And again, I'm not saying promote lying or promote cutting corners. I'm just saying that there is a sense here that we need to acknowledge the intelligence and the genius that comes with being creative, right? But then also, speaking of the consequences of these lies and you having the power to balance that by bringing it up in the open, there's a need here with this combination here that little Scorpio needs to know that you know that this is happening and that they haven't actually gotten away with it, that you are aware of it. And how do you balance? How do you teach? Because the Two of Pentacles it's about teaching how to balance. How do you loophole, but loophole in a way that has integrity in it, right? It's not in this energy, but it's also about self-worth, self-esteem, and value. So it's about teaching them that they don't need to do this coercive or whatever, depending on the age of your child, that's going to manifest differently, right? What they do, how they do it. For some of you, it's just going to be a little toddler grabbing, a candy, unwrapping the candy and wrapping the wrapper back up to make it look like there's a candy in there and get away with the candy. Okay, maybe I'm guilty. Maybe I did do that at some point when I was little, but that's just an example. So here it's about you balancing and acknowledging your child's worth and value. Well, good job in thinking about this. However, here's a consequence to this behavior, and I need you to know that I'm aware that you have done this. There's that energy going on. Very interesting. Please, please, please let me know what little Scorpio's up to. Okay, let's end this with a final advice card for you, dear parent. Spirit, yeah. Yeah, so this is about disappointing your child, and in a good way, meaning this is about not allowing your child to get away with whatever it is they have figured out to get away with, and also acknowledge, and disappointing them, because that's going to disappoint them that they can't get away with this genius idea they have. And it's also about teaching them about the heartache and the pain that said actions can cause on others. Because remember, this came up on the what you can do to help your child, right? If it came up in a different position, we'd be having a different conversation. But the fact that it fell over the Seven of Swords, we have double swords here. We have triple swords with her or his behavior over here, right? But this is about you bringing it up to the limelight, letting them know it's not okay and why it's not okay, and that it can hurt others. That's important for little Scorpio to know, because I'm really feeling that it's not just about the discipline. It's about little Scorpio needs to understand how this potential behavior or cutting corners or conflict and competition can hurt others. And that's where you are going to come in, dear parent, giving them concrete examples while balancing out their genius and acknowledging that side of it. Okay, so I hope this was helpful, dear parent, and I will see you back here in July. Thank you so much, and please remember to subscribe to my channel. It is very helpful, and I appreciate it very much. Bye.